Guys, today we're talking about one of my favorite bands, metalcore legends August Burns Red, one of my most anticipated albums of the year. This one's called Phantom Anthem. It's their 7th studio release, and I'm not going to lie and say that I'm not worried that they might not be able to hold up to the caliber that they're capable of putting out and that they have put in the past. But if you stick to the end of this video, you're going to see how Phantom Anthem fares against the rest of their discography for me. ABR is one of those bands that I can genuinely say I enjoy listening to about 90% of their catalog with little to no screaming. Now, they do have a couple of songs with screaming on them. They've had some great guest vocalists, but I wouldn't say any of those songs that have the singing in them are listed as my favorites. The name of the album is a little bit of a unique one, and it comes from this idea, Phantom Anthem. It's the idea that when you're just walking down the street and you kind of see people, maybe you say hi, maybe you have a small conversation with them, really all you're seeing is them at face value. That's it. There's no deeper meaning to most relationships that you run into or with these people that you meet. But deep inside all of us, or most of us anyway, there's this unique passion and drive that keeps us going. And if you just really took some time to get to know people, you would see that would come out into the light. And so Phantom is like the faceless person that you probably don't even remember them the next day. And then the anthem is like the power inside of them and, that passion and drive that they have. Phantom Anthem contains 11 tracks on the standard edition anyway, and it runs about 55 minutes. So average of at least 4 minutes. Technically that would be 5 minutes a song, which is crazy. Right out of the gate, the band hooks me with that opening riff in King of Sorrow. It feels very August Burns Red, but at the same time, it feels more aggressive than stuff that they've put out before. Expect hectic guitar work on this one, along with some amazing screams by Jake Lurs, the vocalist. And one of my favorite parts of this band is Dustin Davidson, the bass guitarist. His background screaming, he usually does the high registers of the screaming, and they use that to add texture and emotion to Jake's singing. His high screaming is some of the best I've heard in the industry, and there's a lot of it in this opening track. Most notably in the breakdown towards the end, which is not your generic breakdown. The guitar work is interesting and intricate, and the vocals are just screaming farewell a couple times. Instantly, that was a moment that I kept rewinding and re-listening to, one of my favorites on the album. And then also in the song, in typical ABR fashion nowadays, there is one of the slower bridges where they try something new. There's a lot of piano during it. And so obviously they haven't strayed away from those musical sections in this album. Another thing that ABR has been trying lately is like melodic screaming, which is where there's like identifiable melodies underneath the screaming. Wow, Jesus. Much needed scientific explanation, Cameron. But anyway, there's a lot of that in the chorus of this song. And though I'm just waiting for the day where Jake kind of brings out full-on singing in a song, this will hold me off for now. The band welcomes us into another beautiful, slow bridge section with a little bit of string instrumentation underneath it, and then we get a smooth, silky guitar solo from J.B. Brubaker, the lead guitarist. And that takes us out of the bridge, right back into another contrasting metal section. A great high scream from Jake at 4 minutes and 10 seconds, which kind of starts the descent down into the breakdown, where Jake belts the lyrics, "We will show no mercy," over a ruthless guitar pattern. You've probably already heard of The Frost, which was released as a single with a music video, and it's got one of the most talked about intros from August Burns Red, as far as I've seen on the internet anyway. People are saying it sounds like a Blink-182 intro. They say that it makes them think of Christmas morning. And I think that really just speaks to the songwriting prowess of these guys. I don't disagree with either of those statements people make about it. And then they also use bells throughout the song in subtle ways to keep that, what I would call, a wintry vibe to it. One problem I have with the band at times is the weird pacing and rhythm of the screaming at times, and that does happen in the bridge of the song where it starts with "My bones may ache," or "My muscles may ache," and "My tendons may break." It's just kind of hard to predict what lyrics will fall on what beats, and sometimes it throws me off a little bit. I think that the lyrics in the song talk about the journey of finding oneself. Jake states that he found the cure to his misery by spending time with the unforgiving, And then the lyric, among the wind is where I hide, as I find my place among the stars, kind of just drives home that point or that theme of finding yourself. Lifeline has one of those intros that ABR gives us that is super heavy, but at the same time kind of makes you joyous and kind of want to smile. Really major key vibe here, and that does happen in The Frost also, but I think it's more evident in this track. My favorite part of this song is for sure the bridge, where we get a little bit of a jazzy solo from JB. They do a really good job of changing the tone and the feel of the song during that section, and the solo does get a little bit crazy, but it stays beautiful throughout. And it kind of makes me desire a full album by these guys where they use this type of music that they're putting into those bridges and just make a whole album out of that, just a soft, clean album. As far as this song goes, aside from that bridge, I don't think there's really much to make note of. The puppet song, as some people might refer to it nowadays, Invisible Enemy, was also released as a single with The Frost. It has a music video, and I say puppet because they use puppets in it. A lot like the music video for The Stage by Avenged Sevenfold. I'm not personally that big of a fan of the music video, just because there's not a lot you can do with that. I really do like the Eastern influenced intro here with like the plucked string instrument here. And then we get a great intro after that where the guitar comes in, and it's actually in like 15/8 time. I mean, getting a little crazy there, guys. I absolutely love the middle section of the song where Matt Greiner, the drummer, builds up this anticipation with his incredible drumming, and then Jake is screaming, pain is setting in, it's surrounding us, before it leads into that just full-on breakdown. Again, some superb songwriting here, and ultimately I think what they're saying is that pain is the ultimate or invisible enemy, because it's all around us. Pain is everywhere, a lot of people experience it, but it's not really something you think of as like this tangible object that you can just like confront and fight off. With a name like Quake, I had high expectations for this song. I really like a lot of the lead work in it. It kind of has this like triumphant feeling to it. I think this song really excels in the last 30 seconds or so, where we get like this breakdown that actually feels like an earthquake is upon us, and then the song kind of ends with that lead work that I was talking about. Overall, pretty straightforward song here. Coordinates is a really interesting title for a song, and it kind of lends to the fact that I really liked the naming conventions of the tracks on this album. Nothing too fancy, although they kept it short and sweet, it still leaves a lot to the imagination and makes you wonder what these songs are gonna sound like and be about. And you know how I mentioned that I wanted a singing section from Jake? Well, there is a section in Coordinates that I would classify as a singing section. Now, granted, they kind of mask it with some reverb and screaming layered over it, but I get why they did that because they're not a band that typically sings. But overall, I really enjoy this section. A lot of fantastic drum work by Greiner in the song, especially around the 2 minute and 15-second mark. A lot of technical and fast stuff going on there. This song gives us yet another slower, clean bridge, and then transitions right into another heavier note that they end on, which is typical of these bridges that they keep trying to use, although that's kind of the definition of a bridge to outro or chorus or whatever. But it kind of turns into a formula of these guys, which could turn into like a nuisance if you want to say that. However, the last 15 seconds of this song are some of the most compelling to me on the whole album, so I think that it's worth sticking to the end and checking that out. Coming in at a whopping 6 minutes and 15 seconds, Generations is a mountain of a song to get through. There's a great use of gang singing throughout the track, which kind of give it this epic feel, and I like a lot of the lead work on it. There's specifically a moment in the song around 2 minutes and 45 seconds. There are just a few little notes, just a few little notes that kind of make me get that Christmas vibe again and remind me of their Christmas album. I know that's getting into it at a super granular level, but it's something I recognize nonetheless. And when you think the song is about to end at 4 minutes and 12 seconds, they transition into what, everybody? That's right, another one of those bridge sections. During this one, Jake has a speaking part, kind of reminiscent of Spirit Breaker from Rescue and Restore. There's some gang chanting behind that again, and then that all leads into like the culmination of all these elements at the end to give us that ending. And My only complaint really is that I wish the gang singing was a little louder and more prominent in the mix. Overall, given the scale and the length of this track, I wasn't super impressed. Immediately, Float had me on alert with that intro, and I just wish that it had gone on for a little bit longer. I really dug that intro, the soft and clean section. I know it's not typical of ABR, and I know that it would piss off a lot of people, but I really want an album, or I mean just a song where they just take elements like that and make a whole song out of it, where it's not so heavy, just something simple and clean like that. I don't know, it would add a lot of diversity to them, I think. The bridge has some emotional lead work in it, and then there's this recurring like sing, screaming section that happens throughout the song, and they kind of use that after the bridge to just transition into the end. With the title alone, Dangerous had me intrigued from the get-go, along with that opening riff. Just captivated from the start. One of my favorite parts of the song is when they keep repeating Dangerous with the high screaming, kind of echoing Jake, and then the bridge in the song is probably the biggest what the fuck moment in the album. And it's not a bad thing, it's not in a bad way, but we get this kind of pretty cool chord progression with the clean guitar. I really like that chord progression. Something about it just kind of just hit me in the right spot. But then you get this like electronic rhythmic section underneath it, and it's kind of out of nowhere, and it kind of gives you the feeling that you're in this like super big build up or some sort of chase or something in a movie. It's really cool. Kind of out of place in relation to the rest of the song, although I guess all these experimental bridges that ABR has been putting together don't really go with the flow, if you know what I'm saying, with this kind of music. ABR is definitely not done throwing breakdowns at us either. There are a lot of headbanging treats in this one. A really impressive part of this song is some of JB's lead guitar work. There's a really cool tapping section, and then there's a lot of really cool and interesting use of the flanger over the breakdown at the end of the song. We must carry it together. It will soon become. Final track on the standard edition of the album is called Carbon Copy, and holy fuck, some of my favorite riffing from these guys at the beginning of this song. Some great guitar work. Honestly, I think that this track treads too much territory for my liking. Now, by that, I don't mean that they try and span a lot of different genres. This isn't one of the more experimental bridges. The bridge is fine. I like the chord progression. I like the melodies in it. But a lot of the song kind of just feels like it was like some leftover ideas, leftover riffs that they kind of just cut and pasted together to try and make a cohesive piece of music. Like I said, seriously, the first 45 seconds or so of this song, fucking awesome, fucking amazing. Some of my favorite parts, actually probably my favorite part on the album, and it never comes back again. I know some people might say that moderation is really good for something like this, but I don't agree with that. I think they should have brought it back. I love the ending, I love the bridge, and so if they could have just like between the first 45 seconds and the bridge, like somehow, I don't know, mix it up a little bit. I don't know. It kind of just brings down the quality for me. So I was really kind of disappointed in that sense that the opening riff didn't come back at all, but that's just me. All right, guys, well, that's the end of the album. How does Phantom Anthem hold up? It's a great record, it really is. At times it feels heavier than stuff that they've put out before, and at the same time it's super melodic. I know this sounds kind of cliche, but they did do a good job of kind of bringing great elements on both sides of the spectrum there. They tried a couple new things, including that clean singing section. They're still just experimenting with these bridges and these songs. Would I say that this is my favorite album from these guys? Unfortunately, I don't think so, not yet anyway, and I don't want that to scare anyone away from listening to the album, because it is still super impressive. It's a phenomenal record. I just personally would still probably put, for sure, Leveler and Constellations above it, but again, it's still great in its own perspective. Trying to compare it to their other albums is a lot of work, and who knows, maybe one day I'll rank them, but for now, that's all I've got to say about it. ABR is at a weird place in their career where this is their 7th album. They are trying new things, and some fans are just kind of tired of it. They don't really like it, but I like the things that they've been experimenting with. Yeah, like I said, they're in a tough spot where they've got to balance retreading stuff that they've already done and straying too far away from what they've done before and not being ABR any longer to their fans. And I think so far that they've done a really good job of riding that line, and I still enjoy the stuff that they're putting out, and I think they're handling it pretty well. So that's all I've got, guys. Thanks for watching. If you liked the album, purchase it in the description below. I want to know in the comment section where you guys would place this when you rank their discography, and I want to know some of your favorite little sections in the album. I said a few of them during my review, and I want to know what you guys think too. All of my social media stuff is in the description, as you guys know. Come follow me on all the different platforms, whatever you're rocking these days. And yeah, I just really appreciate you guys watching the video. Go check out some old videos if you're new. Like the video, subscribe, share. We're not going to have another contest until I hit 500 subscribers, so the only way to get there is to keep sharing, keep subscribing. And so yeah, guys, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching, and as always, rock on.